Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on another kid-free weekend. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
I didn't know if we were going to do a podcast this weekend. We were kind of busy. We've been working on another separate project. But then I was just casually opening my web browser and fell down a rabbit hole and got infuriated and said, we got to talk about some stuff.
So here we are. We have yet to talk about the stuff.
Yes, I almost read you a news article and I was like, wait, maybe we should do a podcast. And you were like, sure. Mm-hmm. And I was all excited. So,
okay. Well, I'm glad I excited you.
All right. So we got to talk a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. So he died.
He died.
I think everyone knows who he is by now. I don't think we need to talk about what his exact crimes were, right? I think.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's a pedophile, basically.
Yeah.
But worse.
Well, the word pedophile, I've been wondering, maybe I should look up what the exact definition is, because I feel like being into teenage girls is not the same as being into, like, children, but maybe there's a term for that. I don't know. Does it matter?
I don't know, but I'm going to look it up so we can figure that out right away.
I'm looking it up right now, but maybe you'll get there quickly.
I did get there quickly. Pedophilia is a psychiatric disorder in which an adult or older adolescent experiences a primary or exclusive sexual attraction to prepubescent children.
Oh, well, there you go. So as far as we know, Jeffrey Epstein, not a pedophile. He's more of a teenophile, which is less repugnant, but still pretty bad.
Okay.
At least because the slavery thing, you know.
Right.
He's a bad dude.
Okay.
It's just been bugging me. I'm like, is that really the right term for him? What's your question?
So I don't want people to flip out, but teenage girls don't have exactly the best mindset to be making decisions. And when a million billionaire offers to take you across the fucking world, and all you have to do is have sex, the teenage girls, well, sex is good, maybe, or maybe they already know. I don't know. But I foresee a lot of teenage girls accepting that invitation and making bad choices.
Well, I don't know. I mean, first of all, I think part of it was his main recruiter was a lady.
Well, we don't know how much of that is true because I have seen lately that there are fake news on many levels.
Well, okay, but a lot of his accusers have said that she was involved in getting these girls procured for him because she was like in love with him and would do anything for him, and he wanted teen.
Yeah, I know. I read about that.
It was pretty gross.
She got to sleep in his bed a few times.
Yeah, but lucky her.
Right, but I think she wanted him to marry her. That's what I read. Right.
Well, and then I mean, it's one of the you can't change. you can't take the teenophile out of a man.
That's sad.
Yeah, I mean, she was not a teen.
Right. Well, she, like the teens that accepted the invitation, had very low self-esteem, probably because they need attention and love from.
Isn't that a big thing with teens? Mm-hmm. And there's other stuff too. The testimony has said that there's been testimony that like he has this weird egg-shaped penis, kind of fat in the middle and skinny at the tip, and it would never get like fully hard.
What?
Now, I bring that up because it probably has a lot to do with why he got into young girls in the first place. Because like, okay, so let's say he's not a pedophile. He's not into little kids. He's into girls that have boobs and pubic hair and have started to develop, right? But he needs them to be inexperienced because he's like got something weird going on down there. And he himself probably had some deep esteem issues. And eventually I think you go down this hole so deep where you're like, well, I guess teen girls is just my thing now. But it probably started from a place of like, no grown woman wants to touch my dick. That's my guess.
That's sad.
It's kind of sad, but that doesn't make it okay.
I would like to see that.
I read an article once about actual pedophiles, people that were attracted to children. And it was written from the perspective of someone who was attracted to children, but has never acted on it, has never tried to molest a child because they know it's wrong. Like you can be kind of fucked up in the head and have this weird attraction, but not act on it. Apparently there's whole communities like message boards or something where pedophiles go to like support each other and be like, it's okay, everything's going to be fine, you're going to get through life, just don't fuck a kid.
Wow.
Which is great, I guess. I mean, if you can recognize that what you're feeling is not going to be ethically okay.
Wow. Wow.
But that's not Jeffrey Epstein, right? Like, he acted on it in a big, big bad way, and then it seems like used his power and his little harem that he built up to, I'm guessing, fuck over a lot of people, because he would like get now other famous people, other people with power and money and influence into bad situations, and then they're kind of stuck having to help him, whether it's money or just helping him cover up his crimes and so on. That seems to be where the web gets really tangled up. And now he's dead. Which was the first thing I wanted to talk about. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about him being murdered in jail. Have you been reading about those?
Yes, I've read about quite a few things that, yes, that was either the Clintons murdered
murdered
him.
Trump retweeted that one. He's big into that.
Or his cellmate might have done it, but I just can't imagine then having him in with a cellmate at this point.
I thought he didn't have a cellmate.
Well, he said one of the other guys roughed him up, and I thought he said it was a cellmate the first time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that he killed himself, because his lawyers were talking about all the things that had happened the day before, or that day even, and he was optimistic. He was talking about the future, like when we go to the court on this day or whatever. He was talking as if that wasn't a thought in his mind at that moment.
But he could have hit a really dark place late one night. I do think that for as horrible and monstrous as his crimes were, there was a chance for a world where he might have been able to see freedom again someday if he turned over all these other people that were on his record books as having fucked teenage girls. Like, you could get far going state's evidence. Probably not. You wouldn't get like, immunity or something. That would be insane. Like, he kind of he almost got that once.
If he had just, you're right. If he had just told, like, do Heidi Fleiss, pull a Heidi Fleiss and tell all people that were involved, he could have done a couple years in posh jail somewhere and then gone to one of his islands and retreated for the rest of his life. He could have done that easily. Hopefully
more than a couple years, but less than life, potentially. Yeah, we have people who were teenage girls that were getting abused, and they're saying, not just Jeffrey Epstein and sometimes Gillan or whatever the fuck her name is, Maxwell, but it was like Bill Richardson, the former governor of Arizona, and that gross attorney, what's his name? Damn it. But Prince Andrew and Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, like, they're all on they've all been talked about as being around, and of course everybody gets to deny, and now with him dead, and I think this is what's really fueling the conspiracy theories, with him dead, he's unable to ever confirm or deny any of that. He could have used that to save his own skin, and now it's just going to be the word of these girls against these powerful men, which probably means few, if any, consequences, unless they can find some evidence somewhere within all the, like, he kept diaries with a lot of names written, but if he has like pictures, God forbid, video, like real Russian compromat kind of stuff, that could bring a lot of people down.
Well, I hope he does.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of hope. It would be nice to have evidence. Yeah, I do hope he does. I hope there's evidence, because these girls need their full justice. There's people suing his estate now, civil suits for money.
When women come forward like this, they're putting themselves like in the line of fire.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's scary. I can imagine some of them lose everything. Like, what was her name with the Brett Kavanaugh whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
She had to quit her job or something and move
and go into hiding.
Right.
Probably still is in hiding. I mean,
it sucks.
Yeah, absolutely right. So in regards to whether or not he was murdered, I don't know. My gut says he probably killed himself, but was probably told, like, if you don't off yourself, something worse is going to happen. And or all the different powerful people that are sweating because he might have to testify about some stuff. At the very least, I think a situation was made where it would be very easy for him to kill himself. No one was checking in on him, even though he had just been in the hospital with either injuries or self-inflicted injuries or something. People just weren't watching. And I think that's very telling.
Didn't Bill Barr visit him the day before?
I don't think so. I haven't read about that. But I do want to talk about William Barr, because this was his jail. It's all under his watch that this happened. And he says he's going to do a full investigation, which, of course, the jokes are already, he's written the summary for that investigation, before it even started. But here's what I want to say. Are you researching Bill Barr?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure he went there and talked to Epstein the day before.
No way. That would be crazy. But the reason I wanted to talk about Bill Barr, and let's see what you find, but I also want to talk about his dad, Donald Barr, because I do think it's an interesting facet to the story where Bill Barr should probably recuse himself from this and have an independent investigator go, but he's not going to because he's a sleazy piece of shit. Now, what do you have right there?
Well, it says this article is from Fact Check, and it says baseless claim about Barr visit to Epstein prison. So,
okay, so probably not then.
Probably not.
Okay. All right. Well, here's what I wanted to tell you, because I don't know if have you heard about Donald Barr?
No.
Okay, so there's two key things to know about Donald Barr.
Who's this?
Bill Barr's dad.
Oh.
The reason why Bill Barr should probably recuse himself. You ready for this shit?
I'm ready.
All right. Just close my tab on pedophilia here. Okay. Heavy.com has a pretty good article about this. I like Heavy.com. It's one of my favorite sources for summarized news when big things happen. Donald Barr is the former headmaster of the Dalton School.
Oh, that's bad.
Does that name mean anything to you?
No.
Well, then why is it bad?
Because if you're the headmaster, you're pretty much condemned.
What?
Or you're pretty much guilty of whatever.
This isn't a blowjob thing. It's not headmaster. It's the headmaster of the school.
I know.
It's like Dumbledore.
You always hear about sexual abuse in these private.
Oh, well, no. Donald Barr has not been accused of sexual abuse.
Okay, good.
It's weirder.
It's weird.
But he was the headmaster of the Dalton School, which is where a young college dropout, Jeffrey Epstein, got his start.
Huh.
Now, there is some denial that Donald Barr actually hired, quote unquote, Jeffrey Epstein, but he was the headmaster of the school, so he probably had to sign off on it somewhere along the line.
Okay.
Right? But that's where Jeffrey Epstein got his start, teaching like physics and calculus, even though he wasn't really good at either and was not fully qualified in anything, especially as a teacher, because he didn't even finish college.
Wow.
And after a couple years there with poor performance, that's when he did get let go from the Dalton School, but then immediately fell into Bear Stearns. So the connections he made at the Dalton School and whatever happened there, whatever it was, good or bad or in the middle, whatever happened at Dalton School got him started in this world of billionaires because he didn't come from anything. But what makes the connection a little bit weirder, and this is something, so there's a New York Post article that puts a spin on this of, conspiracy theorists. Conspiracy theorists are peddling now, there's eBay sales, a sci-fi novel written by Donald Barr. So this guy knew Jeffrey Epstein in his younger days and wrote a book called Space Relations, a Slightly Gothic Interplanetary Tale about a guy. Here, I'll just read you the little summary here. The fantasy novel portrays an earthling named John Craig, who is sold into slavery on a planet called Kossar. Craig falls in love with Lady Morgan Sidney, a Kossar leader described as having high breasts and long thighs. That sounds like really good writing. First of all, high breasts.
And long thighs.
And long thighs.
Okay.
I think, the Rocky Flintstone from My Dad Wrote a Porno, awesome podcast. If you haven't listened to it yet, could learn a thing or two from Donald Barr. Or they'd be buddies, at least, writing buddies. Craig goes along with because this is bad. Craig goes along with Lady Morgan's demands to sexually assault a teenage slave as part of a clinic used to breed people.
Wow.
The novel also includes other instances of rape. But like Jeffrey Epstein had this thing going on in New Mexico where he had scientists and teenage girls coming in to like repopulate the earth with his seed. Like weird shit. I mean, it goes beyond just rape. It goes beyond just having a thing for teenage girls. His plan to seed the earth with his DNA is fucking weird.
Yeah, I read that. He fits right in with that documentary we're watching. What was it?
Which one? The Family?
Yes.
Well, they weren't doing rape. There was no sex involved.
Well, I mean, it's like a cult.
Right. Oh, yeah, definitely. So yeah, the tie there with Donald Barr is weird and very suspect. And it doesn't speak well of someone, like, if his son now has to go and lead the investigation of what went on, because we're talking about if Epstein has enough documented history somewhere, what, emails and journals and whatever else he may have kept over the 40 years that he was out there fucking teen girls, that could have some ramifications somewhere along the line. There may be some dirt on Donald Barr because who started making introductions so that this really bad, unqualified math and science teacher could suddenly start working at Bear Stearns and start on his path to billionairehood. And it didn't take long. Once he started at Bear Stearns, the guy he was working for, like, signed over, like, bought him a house and signed over power of attorney to him eventually. Epstein started getting stuff on people from an early age, you have to think, because there's no reason why this schmuck would have accumulated the power he accumulated otherwise. There's no reason to believe that he's the whiz kid that, like, people said he was when he started in the investment game. It just seems more like he was well connected and no one was going to do anything about it, and that was that.
Well, I don't know. Good for him, I guess.
Now, none of that is why I said we should just record this.
Okay.
That was just background stuff that came to mind as I was getting set up. I think the Donald Barr connection is upsetting.
It is.
At the very least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty close to what he lived.
But not as upsetting as this.
Book. Okay.
What were you gonna say?
The book pretty much was his itinerary for life.
I mean, it might have been some inspiration. Find a copy of that book in Jeffrey Epstein's house somewhere. That's what I want them to do.
Oh,
Find
that'd be cool.
book. Show that it's been well read. Maybe highlights on the colony of the breeding colony or something. Oh God. Okay. This article, again from the New York Post, which is not. It's usually more of a right-swinging source of news, and then I guess molesting teen girls is that crosses party lines.
Okay, let's hear. I want to hear.
There's nothing in here about Trump anyway. So
hurry up.
All right. The headline that caught my eye was Jeffrey Epstein apparently bought women's panties while in jail. And I was like, wait a second. He was only in jail for like
a week,
what, a few weeks. Yeah. I mean, how was there a vending machine?
Well, there was a woman that came and stayed with him all day.
Who?
A girl stayed with him all day. He would, excuse me, his lawyers would come in and stay with him all day until the moment, like, they had to leave. They would, like, make them leave, and then he would go back to his cell. But he was having people come in and talk to them for all day so he wouldn't have to be in the population of the jail cell.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't her panties.
Okay.
This goes back to his first stint in jail. So do you remember the stories, the Alex Acosta stuff? All right. So it was the plea deal that was not legal.
Right.
He served 18 months in jail. But that plea deal was no one ever informed the victims, which is illegal. So that whole thing was probably going to be vacated, but it doesn't matter now because he's dead. But it was Alex Acosta, Trump's now former labor secretary, who was the DA at the time, that cut that deal. It all goes all the way to the top. It always does. It's fucking disgusting. But anyway, let's talk about what happened while he was in jail. This was in Florida. Millionaire pedophile. Now they're calling him a millionaire. I thought he was a billionaire, but whatever. Millionaire pedophile Jeffrey Epstein was able to buy 2 pairs of small women's panties from a jail shop while serving time for sex offenses, according to bombshell new documents. The convict bought 2 pairs of size 5 female underwear from Palm Beach County Jail's shop in 2008, where he was serving time after pleading guilty to soliciting a minor for sex, according to jail logs. So they weren't used panties. That's good news.
Yes.
But what do you think of that? He went into the jail shop, bought some panties. What does that mean to you?
He's jacking off with them?
Probably. That's what I think, right? Like, they're small enough to be worn by a young girl, so I will now use these as my jerk-off material.
Or, I don't know. I was going to say maybe somebody made him go buy them and then made him put them on.
Well, I don't think they would fit him, but but
There's
if he had
things
just done that, if he had just done that all along, he'd be free and clear. If you got a thing for teenage girls,
just buy the panties.
Just buy their panties, jerk off into them. I don't want to know about it. It's kind of weird and creepy, but it's not evil.
Maybe that's what he used to do.
Maybe.
That's how it started.
Maybe that's how it started. The tiny panties were the most disturbing part of more than $2,000 the pedophile spent while incarcerated for 13 months, according to the records obtained by the Miami Herald. Okay.
13 months. Not 3 weeks.
I thought it was 18. No, this was his first jail stint. This was in Florida.
Okay.
Epstein, who killed himself in his Manhattan cell earlier this month, blah, blah, blah. He was able to buy the underwear because the stockade also holds items for female inmates. So that makes sense. He can just go into the store and buy whatever's there. Fine. He wants a tampon, he can buy a tampon. It doesn't matter. But it would surely raise questions as to why a convicted sex offender who wears sweatshirts ranging from XL to 3XL and size 12 shoes would want such small-sized female panties. Does it? I mean, I think we get it now. He can't wear them.
I wouldn't think so.
It's definitely his jerk-off material. But there's more. This is where I started to really get infuriated. Because this was stuff I didn't know about his Palm Beach stay. I knew he had work release, but I didn't know how bad it was. Epstein was allowed to leave the prison store in a chauffeur-driven car, which took him to a downtown West Palm Beach office building for a 12-hour day, 6-day-a-week break from jail, according to the records, where the convict was called a, quote, client. That's a bad sign. If your jail records are calling him a client instead of a convict, that's not good.
So he was in jail for 18 months, but for 6 days a week, he was out of jail.
For 12 hours, yeah. So he would basically go there to eat and sleep. Probably didn't even eat, honestly. He probably got really good food while he was out.
Wow.
But he would have to go there to sleep.
Well, maybe he was bringing a souvenir to one of his young girls.
That's gross.
I'm just thinking I don't know. I can't live inside his mind.
So it says here, he used that time to have sex with young women, a lawyer for some of the accusers has previously claimed. So some people have already said, yeah, he was in jail for assaulting minors, and then he would leave jail on work release to go and assault more minors, which also supports my theory of he was never a finance guy in the first place. He just had a nice office and was set up with a huge salary because he had shit on people, powerful people.
Okay. Okay.
But it gets worse.
Oh.
Well, no, nothing gets worse than assaulting teenage girls, but it gets also more infuriating here. The little time he spent inside jail, those other 12 hours a day and Sundays, he would often have an unlocked cell door and almost unlimited access to a TV, according to the records, which showed him buying more than 800 cups of coffee. Really likes his coffee. The records show he had 69 doctor's visits in 6 months. Now, we just watched, what was it, last week tonight, where we found that it's very hard for inmates to get to see a doctor because they have to pay for it. They have co-pays or something, and they only get paid like 30 cents an hour or something like that.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. But this fucker, because he has money in his bank account and special privileges, can go do whatever the fuck he wants. And so 69 doctor's visits and so many chiropractor appointments, he would sometimes go 3 times a week.
Nice.
Now, you have real legitimate neck and back problems. How often do you have time to go see the chiropractor?
Never.
Or acupuncture or massage, all the things you need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it is the cost. If I was a billionaire, I'd probably go 3 days a week because I wouldn't have to work.
Well, you wouldn't work, yeah.
Yeah. But now I don't ever go.
Yeah. There's no way he was working, like ever. Like, I don't think ever. Like, just not counting the jail cell. If he has all these massages and chiropractor visits and everything.
That's hard work.
He doesn't have time to work.
Well, all of that is hard work.
What's hard work?
All of the appointments.
Going to the chiropractor and stuff? Yeah. I'm sure his calendar was full. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he was actually ever working. As well as being free to go to work, deputies were required to wear deputies. Keep that in mind. Deputies were required to wear business suits and provide security for him, which he paid for, according to the Herald. So he's not just on a work release. He's on a cushy fucking gig. Mm-hmm. Who gives a shit if he had to pay the salaries for the deputies? What do you make? Like, it's Florida.
Right.
$50,000, $60,000 a year, and he's a hundreds of millions or possibly billionaire. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants it. And they have to be security, which means no one gives a shit about all the girls that he fucked. That's the problem.
They should be getting security.
I'm not saying the deputies were digging it either, but it was they were told this is your assignment now. So it's all the way at the top. No one gives a shit. Let's see. Captain Mark Chamberlain noted Epstein's unusual means on the day the pedophile reported to jail, according to the report.
Unusual means.
So this guy, Captain Mark Chamberlain, he wrote in an email, quote, "His financial status lends itself to his being victimized while in custody, and as such, he has been placed in special management." There's more, but let's just stop there and unpack that.
Special management. He
is so rich that the other inmates might bully him.
Well, of course they would.
Of course they would. He's an asshole.
Mm-hmm. They don't like pedophiles.
Right. Which, again, like, it appears that he's not actually a quote-unquote pedophile, but he,
good enough.
I think it's good enough. Yeah. Like, that's not going to go over well in jail. Fuck you. Don't do the fucking pedophilia. The
inmates are not looking up what pedophile means.
No, probably not. They're not as pedantic as I am. Yeah. So he got special treatment because he was rich. It's that affluenza shit again.
Yeah.
Remember that one? That kid that drove drunk and actually killed somebody and didn't have to do any time because he was so rich and cushy. He didn't understand that his actions have consequences. It's that shit. It's that swimmer, that college swimmer that fucking raped a girl in an alley. And then when he went in front of the judge was like, well, we wouldn't want to harm his swimming career.
Wow.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, that guy wound up going to jail a little bit, but again, like nothing compared to what he should have gotten. All right. Quote, continuing. He is poorly... God, I can't even read it. He is poorly versed in jail routine and society, and his adjustment to incarceration will most likely be atypical. So, since Jeffrey Epstein's not a career criminal, he was a grown man that has never been in prison before. We got to be gentle.
Oh.
Right.
I can't even. I just can't even.
This is being rich in America. And white. Rich and white and a man.
Okay.
This is what it's like.
I mean, he would have gotten his ass kicked for sure.
Yeah.
Does that mean he gets special treatment because of that? Because we can't put him in harm's way knowing that he's going to be harmed, right?
Well, you can put him in protective custody if you think he's going to be killed in prison. Okay. But does that mean that you should do this? Quote, "For the time being, I am authorizing that his cell door be left unlocked," which, incidentally, is the opposite of protective custody. Mm-hmm. But it kind of depends on where your cell is, right? "That his cell door be left unlocked and he be given liberal access to the attorney room where a TV will be installed." That's not doing hard time.
Last time.
Yeah, this is last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he pretty much expected it to go the same this time, I think.
Maybe. But because of what happened last time, because there was no justice at all last time, because he didn't even do real time last time. I mean, 18 months wasn't enough in the first place.
He was poorly versed in life in prison and actually life outside of prison also.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you just took his billions and his island away and shit, and he had to live like a regular dude and work at McDonald's or whatever.
Mow the lawn.
He would have killed himself a long time ago.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be able to handle normal life. But that doesn't mean you treat him with kid gloves, especially for the crimes he did. I mean, I would say the same thing about any of the embezzlers, like, you know, the Enron guys and stuff, and these horrible monsters that go to white collar, cushy prisons because they didn't murder someone flat out. Like, they still ruined lives, and they still now get to
some people probably killed themselves,
go play on a tennis court and shit, when, you know, the violent criminals are in much, much worse circumstances. And I would say, as bad as violence is, thievery on that kind of scale, intentional fraud, like you're not stealing because you need a loaf of bread to feed your kids. You're stealing because you enjoy it and because you're rich, but you're not rich enough, and fuck everybody else. Those guys should be in the same kind of prison as the violent criminals.
Okay. So let's say I robbed a bank and got caught.
Yes.
And I go to jail.
You would go.
And I'm like in the regular population.
Right.
I could probably adjust, but it would be scary.
Of course it would be scary. It's supposed to be scary. I mean, it shouldn't be cruel. It shouldn't be solitary confinement. It shouldn't be, torture and getting beaten by guards. And it shouldn't even be a situation where you're definitely going to get beaten by your fellow inmates.
But
like,
that's the way it is, I think.
I mean, I don't know I don't think it's the same as what we see on TV and movies. I'm sure there's plenty of violence and stuff, but it should be scary. It should be a place you don't want to go to.
Well,
it shouldn't be.
I mean,
the only punishment for like these white collar guys, and it would be an Epstein if he had a family, but the only punishment for most of these guys is that they don't get to see their kids grow up, and they don't get their access to their family anymore. And they don't get all the cushiness. They're not driven around in a limo and getting to go to the fancy parties. Like, that's their punishment. But it's not, I mean, the guys that, stab someone on the street, they have those same issues. They don't get to see their kids grow up either, but they're also in a shitty place, and a place that they don't want to come back to. Whereas these guys are much more comfortable. It's fucking white collar guys. Okay, so they were worried that he would just be so sad, I guess, that they had to give him a TV. All right, so this article's almost over. It infuriated Assistant U.S. Attorney A. Marie Villafana. She complained that letting Epstein spend time in a private office, quote, making telephone calls, web surfing, and having food delivered to him is probably not in accordance with the objectives of imprisonment. So there was one good person with a conscience. Mm-hmm. But this captain, whoever the fuck he is, Captain Mark Chamberlain, fuck that guy. Because if he's the one that was approving all this extra special setup in the jail, either someone at the top had, was sitting on this guy, or this
he was
guy
getting
got
paid.
Right.
Yeah.
Bribed. Huge bribes, I'm sure. I would love to know what Mark Chamberlain's car is, if he bought a new house shortly after Epstein's imprisonment.
Yeah.
So that was that article, which just pissed me off so much. I had to stand up and walk across the house and be like, "Rah!" at you.
Well, I mean, I think that is the way it goes for anybody that's rich. Unless they're losing all their money.
Okay, and if they're losing all their money, then what?
Well, then they wouldn't be able to pay anybody off.
Oh, yeah, then they wouldn't have that
They should
power.
freeze his funds.
Well, he's dead.
Well, he's dead now, but they should have.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
But if you had followed the money trail from him a long time ago, then it probably would have brought a lot of powerful people down in the process. And that's what we need journalists for, especially if you can't trust the DA to do it.
Right.
But that's why we need, and what eventually brought Epstein down actually was the press. because it was all the publicity, right? Like his 18-month conviction nonsense, this plea deal was kept private. It was basically sealed. Like, not that many people knew what was going on, especially the victims. But it was a journalist for the Miami Herald that wouldn't let this go. And so I should know who that is, but it's someone from the Miami Herald, a real newspaper with real integrity, that stayed on top of this and, found victims and interviewed them and got them to speak up and speak out, that brought Jeffrey Epstein into such a limelight over these last couple of years that no one could ignore it anymore. You couldn't just sweep it under the rug.
Right. He was hoping nobody would ever talk of it again, right?
Of course. And he got out of jail and he was still doing it without question. They raided his house in New York and found all sorts of weird, fucked up shit. No teen girls chained to the wall at the time, but still, like, he was not okay. And 18 months in cushy jail did not rehabilitate him.
I feel like I haven't read about enough people coming forward since then, Like, I haven't. Are they new? Or are they old claims? Are they within the last couple of years claims, or was it?
Oh gosh. I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, there's been a lot of women that have come forward, but let's see. I mean, a lot of them kind of want to keep their name out of the media.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I don't know if I can find anything. I mean, if you search for Epstein victims, the first video match that comes up is the most prominent accuser, Virginia Roberts, who used to work at Trump's Mar-a-Lago.
Really?
That's where they found her. She was working there as a high school kid, doing whatever kids do at rich, posh country clubs, and then was recruited from there to start doing massages for Jeffrey Epstein.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a fucked up story. Like, you should watch that video. It's only like 7 minutes long, but it'll mess with your head. 2 more recent victims have sued his estate for $100 million. Here we go. The cut. How many Jeffrey Epstein victims are there? Since Jeffrey Epstein's arrest last week, we have been inundated with disturbing revelations about how he allegedly abused underage girls for years in plain sight. A part of the story that's often missing is the voices of his accusers. This is partly by design. Epstein and his lawyers have worked for years to keep his victims out of the press. Epstein's accusers have already filed 24 lawsuits against him, some dating back as far as 2009. So we're already at 24 victims. None of these suits ever went to trial. Some of them were settled for over $1 million apiece. They've tried to discredit his victims before, many of whom are from economically disadvantaged backgrounds, right? You try to find them young and naive and the sort of people that no one's going to listen to, right? That's what you do when you want to victimize someone. Mm-hmm. They claim that the girls lied about their ages or made up allegations to extract money. Ugh, so gross. Let's see. How many victims are there? Estimates of the total number of girls allegedly abused by Epstein varies, with accounts ranging from a few dozen to over 100. Yep.
Well, he's a bad dude. I hope they find some super strong evidence. If they find nothing, it'll just fizzle and go away.
Holy shit. Sorry. Investigations into Epstein began in 2005 after the parents of a 14-year-old girl told Palm Beach police that Epstein had molested their daughter at his home. According to the Miami Herald, by 2008, when Epstein was granted his now infamous plea deal, federal prosecutors had identified 36 underage victims. So that's the 36 mark right there. That's the minimum. That's the bare minimum of how many. So the reports of up to 100, it's probably a lot closer to that.
Yeah. Because that was a long time ago, right?
It was a long time ago. A lot of people have probably repressed it, don't want to talk about it. They're ashamed by it. I mean, who knows? I mean, you get really fucked up by being sexually abused, right? Some of them have probably committed suicide. I hate to say it, but it's probably true. And then some of them hopefully got through it and are married and just want to live their lives and not deal with it. But But the reason that we know that there's more is because someone like Virginia Roberts, and you should definitely read her or watch that video. She'll talk about how after she was well ingrained in the system, she was sent out to recruit new girls and bring them back. And that was just her life now. And I think a lot of it is fear, fear of these rich and powerful people who could.
Right. And what are you going to do? Quit and then go where? And people
Well, she did. She that's part of her story is she did quit and sort of went into hiding, and they eventually found her, but not in a violent way. It was just sort of,
hey, where you been?
Yeah. It was like, hey, you haven't told anyone about what happened, have you? That kind of thing. Some years later. But we don't know how many people got away. We don't know how many people are still out there hurting. Yeah. And now he's dead, that piece of shit.
That's sad. I think that, I don't know, girls have a big problem with just letting people do whatever they want to do because they don't know how to stand up, because women have been oppressed for so long, feeling like we had to do whatever the guy wanted. And they were probably, I don't know.
Whatever the guy wanted.
It was like a fantasy thing.
I'm chuckling at that just because it sounds so stupid. And yet.
It's true.
Yeah, I know.
It's just a feeling that you have. Like you're not allowed to voice your opinion or do the things that you want because that guy knows best. I don't know.
I feel like you don't feel that way about me. That I know best.
Sometimes.
Yeah, God. Well, I like to think of us as more of a partnership. Right. That's the way it should be, right?
It works both ways. Yeah. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. One of us is right all the time.
That's probably. I bet that's true. Yes.
It is true. Yeah,
we're never both wrong.
Oh well,
that would be insane. What?
We're probably both wrong a lot too.
Yeah, I doubt it. But we're right about this. Jeffrey pedophile, bad dude. We're definitely right on that one. Anyone that says otherwise, not someone you can trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
You know who did say he was a good dude before?
Who?
Donald Trump.
Ugh.
Before the shit hit the fan.
He's a good guy.
I love him. We like the same kinds of women, kind of on the younger side. He might like women even more than me. That asshole knew what was going on. So did Clinton. Take them all down. Eat the fucking rich. Take them all down. That's what I want. It's not going to happen under Bill Barr.
No.
But that's what I want.
He's probably part of it. Ugh.
There's a chance.
He's like the lollipop owl.
Did you just come up with that, or have you seen that before?
I don't know if I've seen it.
I feel like someone has got to have noticed that, because you're absolutely right. But you just figured that out?
I don't know.
Let's do a side by side.
Okay.
Oh, God. All right. Well, I think we've talked about disgusting sex crimes enough for one day.
Thanks. Made my day.
Bet it did. But thanks for letting me read that article to you and having that conversation with me. I just need to get that off my chest. So that was good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, love you.
Love you too.
Let's have more love in the world, people. Love 2020.